bullying my school bully CEO to sleep with me. I couldn't believe who I saw before me. Riker McDaniels, the CEO of Eleven Corp, one of the top investment firms in the world. Riker was the CEO and had been for years. As he stood there talking to the others, I glowered. He ruined my high school years, but it wasn't just that. After high school and college, he screwed me out of a meeting that might have changed my career from being a lowly office clerk to a top-level investor. This guy stole my leads, and when I went to confront him about it, he just brushed me off. And there he was, talking like he didn't have a care in the world. What I wouldn't give to wipe that smirk off his handsome, hardened face. Wait, handsome? Colton, you okay? I looked over at Myra, an old friend, and shrugged. Nothing, I just remember what Riker did to me, I muttered. That was like 10 years ago, Colton. He's different now. I doubted it. Riker still had that smug aura to him, like he didn't care who he hurt as long as he got what he wanted. I shook my head and headed towards the other side of the reception hall. I doubt it. I mean, it won't hurt to try talking to him, right? Tony, my other old friend from back in the day and still my partner in crime, added. He flashed a small smile and leaned in. Besides, you told me that if you found out anything, you give me the details, right? I did. Tony worked as an investigative journalist and was damn good. I adjusted my shirt and nodded. Yes, I did. Good. Now remember, if you find anything, tell me. It'll be nice to get revenge on him after all these years, Tony sneered. Would be, I spat out. Tony agreed to help me get revenge if we ever found anything on Riker. So far, there had been nothing, but a man can dream, right? I continued to stare at Riker, growing angrier by the second. He was so handsome, I hated his face. What I wouldn't give to wipe that smirk off his face, or maybe even give him a taste of his own medicine. My eyes continued to watch him, fixated on those plump lips. God, it's just not fair that he has such handsome, kissable lips. Wait, what am I doing? He was my enemy, the guy who ruined my life for 4 long years, and then 4 years after that, which drove me to the brink of insanity. The fact that he acted like nothing was wrong made me even more flustered. I'd get my revenge, and when the time was right, wipe that damn smirk off his face. An hour later, Riker went off to the bathroom. Curious, I slipped away from the rest of the crowd and followed him. I stopped at the wall behind where the urinals were at. However, instead of using the bathroom, he retired to the stall in the back. I heard his voice a moment later, and I readied my recorder. This had to be good. I told you it wasn't me, but I know Glenn Crawford was a person we needed out of our way. Now that he's gone, it's time to focus on the next move. Wait a minute, I knew who Glenn Crawford was. He was a hotshot CEO connected to my best friend Tony, who died mysteriously. The case was left cold as there was no evidence who did it, but some speculate someone with power wanted him gone. Was his death connected to Riker? The realization that Riker might be connected to this could be used to my advantage. I stepped inside and checked my phone, and sure enough, it recorded everything. I smiled to myself and waited for him to come out. When the stall door opened, Riker walked out and his eyes widened the second we locked eyes. Colton? Good to see you, Riker. I didn't even know you were here. Yeah, hard for you to care about anyone but yourself these days, right? I snapped back. Riker just stared blankly and then he sighed. If you'll excuse me. He tried to walk past me, but I stopped him. Riker glared. Please move, Colton. No. You know, I heard everything. Seems like Glenn Crawford's death was all too perfect, don't you think? Riker gritted his teeth. That's not what happened. He's gone, but I didn't do anything. Oh, but what about this? I show him the recording. Immediately, the color drained from his face. Colton, that's taken out of context. Context? What context? You know, if I gave this to Tony, who works for one of the largest news stations in the country, people are going to flip. And he's always looking for the latest scoop. Riker kept his emotions at bay, but I knew that he was pissed with a capital P. Okay, Colton. What do you want? Money? Power? I'll give it to you, and then you can go off and... I want to sleep with you. Riker's face somehow grew even more shocked. If that was even possible. Come again? Sleep with me? and I will make this all go away. Riker folded his arms across his chest. Absolutely not. You're disgusting. Why would I do that? I want to humiliate you. Because I know asking for money and power won't be enough. You screwed over one of my biggest investment deals, and I never forgot about it. I moved on, but the pain is still there. If you sleep with me, I'll stay quiet. Or else I'll give Tony the story. You wouldn't. Oh, but I would, I replied, taking a step forward so that our chests touched. But I'm a nice guy, unlike you. Your daily swirlies and screwing over my investments years ago aren't going to make me forget, though. So, I'll give you some time to think about it. His lips were dangerously close. I could lean in, kiss him right now, and show him who's in charge. But I held back, knowing that I wanted to see him beg. Just a little bit of pleading would have put him in his damned place. That's where I wanted him to be. Next time we see each other, tell me your answer. If you don't, I'll let Tony know. I do have him on speed dial after all, so I'll keep this recording in a safe place. I enjoyed the fear installed in Riker's face. After I left the bathroom, I turned, smiling to myself. The next time we saw each other, either I'd get a taste of Riker's body, or I'd get a taste of taking him down a peg or two. Right now, I don't know which is better. 2 weeks later, I joined Riker's company. The company was hiring for an IT specialist. I wanted to stay close and get my answer, and hopefully revenge for both Tony and me. It worked all too well. He knew I was on the payroll, but we never crossed paths. He kept to himself in his office or went to meetings. Yeah, I bet those meetings were about how to be a gross CEO. One night, after everyone left, I went to Riker's office. There, I knocked on the door, opening it before he could even respond. Riker pursed his lips. Colton, I saw you were on the payroll, but didn't believe it. Of course you didn't. I'm here now, though, and I want my answer. I closed and locked the door. As I approached the desk, I played the recording, which I kept in a special encrypted file that only I knew the password to. Riker looked up, his blue eyes storming with anger. However, I saw something else in there. Was it hesitation, maybe? Or maybe it was the realization that he was cornered. So what's your answer, Riker? Do you want me to send this to Tony? Or will you take my offer? Suddenly, Riker changed. The hesitation he possessed before was long gone, replaced with a sneering smile. Fine. I'll sleep with you. I stand there, slightly taken aback by his words. Wait, he agreed? I wanted revenge for what he did, and this would be a blow to his pride, but why was he almost enjoying this? You know the consequences, right? Riker chuckled. Of course I do. Why is it that you seem a little hesitant now? Are you scared because you're playing with the big boys and that you might get burned? Or maybe you didn't expect me to say yes. Before I could respond, he crushed his lips to mine, kissing me with the fervency I didn't expect. I immediately kissed him back. I tried to gain the upper hand, but his lips and tongue were just too dominant. As Riker pulled away, a confident, almost intimidating smile crossed his lips. I have the upper hand, Colton. You never did. Before I knew it, I was splayed out on the table. His hungry lips met mine again, and soon clothes fell. I don't know how it happened, but I was soon naked under his touch. He kissed me all over my body, and we slept together that night. But instead of me dominating, Riker took hold, and in turn, I learned something about myself. I lusted for my boss, the bully who tormented me during some of the roughest parts of my life. A week later. Anything? Tony asked. No, nothing. He groaned, rubbing his temples. Ain't you two working together? He's got to have some kind of dirt. I'm trying, Tony, but I haven't seen anything. And just because I'm employed under him, it doesn't mean I know what's really going on, I muttered. It'd been a week since Riker and I slept together. It was the best sex of my life. And once it was done, I wanted it again. which I hated. I caught myself thinking about him more too. His strong, domineering hands and those delicious lips completely silenced all of my feelings and thoughts. It drove me crazy, but it made me realize the apparent truth that I've been running from for so long. I liked Riker more than I cared to admit. I'm surprised you agreed to this. Yeah, well, I want the truth as well. That makes two of us. I want the guy to pay for Glenn's death, even if it takes decades, Tony replied, his voice lower. I wanted to know what happened to Glenn Crawford too. Glenn was his brother, even though they had different moms, and Glenn's death was still a sore spot. But that didn't mean I wanted to talk about the ethics of me sleeping with Riker. After a bit more pestering, Tony finally gave it up, and that night I went home. However, I was about to settle in and relax. Then I got a text from Riker asking me to meet him for coffee tomorrow. My heart thumped. This wouldn't mean anything. I'd just get more information for Tony to see if we can pin the crime on him. I said yes, not thinking much about it, but deep down, I wanted something more. The next day, we went out for coffee together. At first, it was awkward. I didn't know why Riker even wanted this. But then, we started talking about the past. Riker's face softened slightly. I'm sorry for the way I treated you, Colton. I wanted to apologize to you for what happened. Oh, for ruining my life? Riker paused. I did? Yes! You sold my investments, and then when I confronted you, you gloated in my face. His expression changed. I didn't know that. I always thought that you were just claiming they were yours as a means to one-up me. I shook my head. No, it wasn't that at all, and I hated that you assumed such. The air grew tense, and Riker sighed. I'm sorry, Colton. I'll make it up to you however I can. I didn't realize that was you, and it was awful of me. The papers never mentioned your name or anything. You were awful. Still, hearing this surprises me if I'm being honest, I muttered, feeling my heart thump. I didn't know Riker had any sort of heart. I just thought that he'd tell me to let it go since it was 6 years ago, and what prompted me to go back to school for cybersecurity and computer programming. Those years were hellish, especially after falling into the realm of financial investments and turning to cybersecurity as a last resort. We sat there in an awkward silence until Riker broke the awkward tension again. It wasn't just that I'm apologizing for, though. I don't want forgiveness for that, nor do I expect it. It's going to take me a bit to forgive you for that. I know. But besides that, I was terrible to you in high school. I slammed your books on the ground every day, left gum and other garbage in your locker, and even gave you wedgies and swirlies. I sometimes wonder why I did that. Yeah, why did you do that? I don't know, he mused, leaning in. Maybe it was because I secretly liked you and refused to admit it. Whoa. I sat there slack-jawed and shocked at his words. I didn't know. Neither of us did. But that was then, and this is now. I invited you out to clear the air because I know that we both needed it. He gripped his cup a little tighter. Someone had to, I retorted. Yes, again. I'm not asking for forgiveness, just understanding. There were a lot of emotions going through me. I blackmailed this man, and part of me wondered if it was all from a misunderstanding. Tony told me the investments were ruined because of Riker, but was that true? We finished our coffee and headed back to the office. Beforehand, he pulled me to the side. There he touched my shoulders. The closest made my heart race. I'm glad we can talk like this, Colton. For the record, I never hurt Glenn. He was a rival, but I never wished him ill will. I nodded. I wanted to believe Riker. I really did. I know, Riker. I'm trying to wrap my head around everything. As am I. We went back to the office. Tony texted me an angry message on the screen. Well, is there any update? I told him no. and it wasn't what Tony wanted to hear, and he berated me. I ignored the message, thinking about what Riker said. He never knew the investments were on my radar. Tony insisted it was him. That, on top of the blackmail, made things so much more confusing. I wanted Tony to get his revenge, but the longer I was around Riker, the more I thought maybe I was the one duped. A week later, Riker invited me to an event. It was for the company, but also kind of like a date. Well, we didn't show affection in public. Sometimes Riker would steal glances at me. My face heated up every time I saw that. As soon as I listened to the conversations, I learned two things. Riker was a ruthless businessman, and he didn't take crap from anyone. But also, underneath it all, I got to see the real him. That night behind closed doors, we talked. It was a little tense at first, but with more alcohol, lips became looser. You know, Colton, sometimes I feel like you're the one who understands me. I do? Yes. You've got this way about it. Thanks, I replied, sighing. I realize as well that you're not as bad as I thought you were. His expression hardened. I didn't hurt Glenn. We had our differences, but prior to his death, we were going to merge our businesses. I know I look like the bad guy, but when I found out that he was gone, I was heartbroken. I listened, shocked that Riker felt this way. But didn't you ask for the case to be left unsolved? I did, but that's because I wanted to look into the case myself. It's been 2 years since then, but I have struggled to tell anyone how I felt until you. He turned to me and caressed my cheek. With his lips against mine again, I melted against the kiss. It felt different, like maybe there was something else going on here. I kissed him back and his hand slipped down my waist. As I moved away, I caught my breath. I can't explain it, Colton. You blackmailed me, and yet I did it of my own volition. Wait, you wanted to? He nodded. Yes, because I saw you again after all these years. I realized how attractive you've become. You're not the same nerd I remember. I also feel like over the last couple of weeks we'd both realized just how wrong we were about each other and how insane this whole thing has been. I smiled. I feel the same. Maybe I was wrong about you too. Riker chuckled, drawing small lines with his fingers down my face. Do you want a relationship with me, Colton? The man you're supposed to hate. I hesitated. Part of me wanted this. The hate I housed for him dissipated as I learned the truth. Locking my hands with his, I smiled. It's something to consider in the future. We kissed again, eventually hooking up in his room. Tonight, it was special, and I realized the truth was right there. I liked Riker. A month later, Riker and I took our relationship to the next level. He would take me out to dinner as colleagues, which usually ended up with us on his bed making out by the end of the night. One day, he took me out shopping and we got a suit so we could go see some play that he got tickets for together. It was nice, but my own regrets were hanging over my head. Tony's insistence to get the truth, incriminating Riker, hung over me. Did I want to anymore? I wanted to for Tony, but I had my doubts. Riker and I drove outside the city to his private lake house. There, as we watched the lake, he wrapped his arms around me. These last few weeks make me realize just how wrong I was about you, Colton. You do care, and I'm happy to share these moments with you. Riker turned his body and leaned in. Our lips crushed together in a passionate kiss. He grabbed my waist and pulled me into his lap, his lips and his tongue dancing with mine. At that moment, everything felt right. As he pulled away, he touched my cheek with the same lustful smile he always had on his lips. Let's go back to my room. I want to show you how nice the bed is. Oh, you'll show me all right, I teased. Riker carried me bridal style to the room, and that night, our passions danced together once more. As Riker slept soundly next to me, I moved out of bed to use the bathroom. I passed by his desk, and that's when I noticed it. Wait, this is about... I sat down and looked over the papers. They were all contracts signed the night of Glenn Crawford's death. I looked through the files quickly, the realization hitting me. Riker didn't kill Glenn. The next day, I got up early to look at the papers again. As I sat down and perused over the contents, I got lost in the details, not paying attention until Riker's voice boomed behind me. "Colton, what are you doing?" Jumping, I gasped. His eyes narrowed and he angrily looked at me. It's nothing." "Why are you going through my papers?" I'm sorry, Riker, Colton, don't lie to me." Riker snapped, turning me to face him, and I could see the anger that bred within those orbs. "What are you doing?" I gasped, feeling as if he saw right through me. That's when I broke down. I'm sorry, Riker, when we first connected, I blackmailed you because I wanted to get revenge for Tony. After that, I was encouraged to continue to get close to find more information, but then I started to fall in love." "So you dated me to find dirt on me?" "What the hell, Colton? I was just trying to help Tony. You hurt me, Riker, and I wanted revenge. I never realized I had feelings for you." Riker glowered, but he didn't say anything. Finally, taking a deep, exasperated breath, he spoke. "You're fired. Don't come in on Monday. In fact, grab all your stuff and get out of my face." I grabbed my clothes and left, making the long trek back to the city. I felt awful. I hurt Riker, the man I grew fond of and started to fall for. It was then I realized just how badly I messed up. 2 days later. Riker doesn't want to see me anymore. Sadness overwhelmed me as I told Tony that. He nodded, his expressions emotionless. "Yeah, we lost our one lead and now I don't know where to go." And that's the thing. I had to tell Tony the truth. Riker never did it. Tony's eyes widened. "He did though." "No, I saw the proof. He wasn't around the night of the hit. The guy's got an alibi." Tony glowered. "You're just saying that because you like him and you don't care about me." What was Tony getting at? "No, I care about you. You're my best friend." "Yeah, well, best friends would get justice for the loss of their brother. I wanted Riker out of the picture and gone, and so that you and I can move on together." I sat there taking in those words. Wait, you used me? You only wanted my friendship because I could get close to Riker? Tony stood up. "That's not it, Colton." "It sure sounded like it," I muttered, standing up. "I'm not surprised that you only kept me around for your revenge. I know you lied to me about the investments too." "What? No, I didn't." "I found the files. None of them were attached to Riker. You lied again." "Why did you do that, Tony?" Tony didn't say anything. "I had my reasons." "Like what? Like you thought this would work in your favor?" "Yes, 'cause I like you, Colton. I have for a while, and I thought once we got everything sorted, we could move on together." Hearing those words disgusted me. Not only did Tony use me, but he also had this crush on me that was fueled by this messed up agenda. I can't believe you, Tony. You were my best friend. Tony walked over to me, tears streaming down his face as he looked me dead in the eye. "I'm sorry, Colton. Please, forgive me." I headed to the door. As I turned, anger seeping through me, I shook my head. "Friends don't hurt friends like that. You're not forgiven." Before I could hear any more from Tony, I slammed the door, anger and regret coursing through me. I'll find the truth, even if it kills me. Not just for myself, but to tell Riker. And hopefully we can start over again. A month later, I worked for Grayson Chandler, another big-time investment firm, keeping my head down, focusing on improving the company's security. As I looked through the company's files, I realized something. They were associated with Glenn. Is this right? No, it can't be. I looked around and did some digging. All night I went through the company files, navigating their firewalls and security. I went through the Grayson's personal files, and what I found shocked me. Grayson ordered the hit. A mysterious money transfer was sent the night before to a guy named Kay Garrison. He was a hitman with the encrypted orders from Grayson to go to Glenn's house. My hands shook. I learned from all of this that Grayson was a business rival, and if Riker and Glenn finalized the merging of their businesses, the company would have gone under. Glenn also beat Grayson out of the recent business deal, so there was bad blood all around. I gathered the evidence and got everything ready. As I sorted through the information to give to a private investigator, I sighed. I'd clear Riker's name, and through this, I hoped he'd forgive me. The next day, I contacted the PI. He told me to meet up with him at a coffee shop nearby. I got there and ordered a coffee, and for the next hour, I didn't see him. Tapping my fingers on the cup, uneasiness settled over me. Evening came, and he never showed. Sighing, I left the cafe. As I turned the corner, a figure rushed towards me, knocking me out. I fell to the ground, but then the man moved, slamming me into the wall. The truth will never see the light of day. Riker will pay for what he's done. The figure reached out for my neck and pulled me up. Gasping, I tried to reach for the dark-eyed man. His grip tightened, holding me hostage. I was going to die. Unconsciousness settled over me, and I fell. The man laughed, cocking a gun. "This is for my client." I expected to die, but then, just as my awareness dissipated, I heard groans and the sounds of fighting. Willing all of my strength, I opened my eyes, and that's when I saw him. Riker. Hours later, the hospital machines beeped. I woke up. Riker was right there, and he grabbed my hand. "You're awake." "I am." "Riker, what are you doing here?" He chuckled, closing the magazine he had. "Well, I took those documents that you had on you, along with a recording, and brought them to the first journalist I could find. They published the story, and it seems your current boss, Grayson Chandler, has been arrested on suspicion of conspiring for murder." I sat there, shocked. Riker, I'm so sorry for what I did. I know it was wrong. I should have told you. I thought Tony meant well, but he wanted revenge to get the best of me." Riker sighed. "You're forgiven, Colton. I know something was up, but couldn't figure it out. I'm just glad that I was able to save you in time." "Thank you. I'm so sorry, Riker. I like you a lot, and I know I've hurt you." Riker leans in and presses his lips against mine. It was a sweet kiss, and he pulled away, and he touched my hair. "I forgive you, Colton. But this time, be honest, all right?" I smiled. "Can do." Riker stayed with me in the hospital. He gave me my job back, which was such a breath of fresh air. He cared about me, and I cared about him. Conclusion. Riker and I dated for real this time. We had a healthy relationship without secrets. A year later, he asked me to marry him. I never thought I'd fall for my bully, but here I was. Riker made me happy and complete. Without him, I didn't know where I'd be today. The end. Have you ever had a crush on your bully? Let us know in the comments. And please consider subscribing to become part of our Rainbow Force. And as always, stay wholesome.